Hey everyone, welcome to today's lesson. My name is Wes. This is interactive English, and in case this is your first time here on this channel, our lessons, it's all about trying to help you practice and improve your English skills, vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation. We try to do a little bit of everything, and especially if this is your first time watching one of our lessons, please write to me in the comments. Let me know your name. Tell me where you're from. Love hearing from new people. So I just want to give a quick shout out to some of you who are joining me today in the chat. Hello, Dos Caballero, Aiden, Sleepwalker, Angela, Gladys, Abdurrahman, Sajid, Lali, Felix, Gertrudis, hello, Manu, Abdul, thank you guys for joining me. Today, I want to make this a vocabulary Q&A. So if there are any words, phrases, idioms, expressions that you would like me to talk about, you can write that to me in the chat. I'll get to as many as I can, and I'll tell you what the meaning is, and I'll try to give you some examples as to how a person might use that. And as we go through the lesson, I have a couple of things that I want to show you. We have this page right here, which is going to be a list of the vocabulary that we compile from today's lesson. Once the lesson is over and it's posted, I will put all of the words from today in the description down below. So you can have it, you can review it if you want to look at those words and see what they mean. I'm also going to use today Cambridge Online Dictionary, which is right here. This is one that I like to use, and I would recommend you guys use Cambridge. There are many different options when it comes to looking up words and phrases, but I like this one because I think that when they tell you the meaning of the word, they use simple words in order to explain it. I think that's something that's challenging when you look up a word and they give you the meaning, but then you find these other words that you don't know. And you're like, well, this doesn't help me. So I think Cambridge does a nice job doing that. So I may refer to this page just to show you, and we'll look it up together and talk about it. So let's go ahead and see what you guys have for me. So again, if you have any words or phrases or idioms, just write them in the chat. I'll try to get to as many as I can. All right, so a question from Aiden. Yes, this one, I'm going to try and put these also in the chat so you know as well. Get a grip. All right, to get a grip on something it's an informal expression, which means that you want to get hold of it. I guess you could say it's an idiom that you want to get hold of something so that you can control it. That's kind of what I would say. But again, like just to check on it, to make sure to give you guys a clear definition, and then I'll add it to the list. We can go over here to Cambridge and then just type in and see what they say. Get a grip. And like you could say, you use it, okay, get a grip on yourself. Get a grip. So you would say this if you're talking, again, in this context, like you're talking to a person, like get a grip on it, get a grip of yourself. And it's talking about trying to control something, in this case, controlling your emotions. So you would tell somebody this if there is a situation, a crisis, and people are panicking and you don't want them to panic. You could say, get a grip on yourself, all right? Stop panicking, control your emotions, get a grip on yourself. So over here, we'll go to the vocabulary page and I'll add it. So again, I will post this later so that you guys have it as well, to make an effort to control your emotions, your behavior, again, so that you can kind of think clearly. You want to get a grip on yourself, or somebody might just say, get a grip, all right? You need to get a grip. You need to control your emotions. Excellent. That's a good one. Lucia asked this one, pillow talk, all right? I'm going to throw that in there. So if we're talking about pillow talk, it kind of means what it says, that if a couple is in bed at night, and I think typically it might be after a romantic evening, and afterwards they're having just a conversation, just chatting, and they're in bed. They would refer to that as pillow talk, simply because you're in bed, you're lying on your pillow, and you're just having conversation, typically after a romantic moment or just after sex, and you call it that's pillow talk. So let me add that one to our list right here. That's it. Again, I guess it's an idiom, you could say. Conversation. A couple will have in bed at night, and I'd say typically after like sex or a romantic evening, and you could call that pillow talk. All right, so let's see. That's a good question, good word, good phrase. Let's see. Abdul asks, what does it mean if you say something is out of this world? All right. So out of this world is another idiom. And I could say, just to give you a hint, I hope that you guys think that these video lessons that we do each week are out of this world. So if you describe something as being out of this world, then you're just saying that it's really great. And you would usually follow it after the verb to be, and you'd say something is out of this world. And in that case, you mean that to say that something is really great. I've added it to I've added it to the vocabulary list. That's what I was typing in just then. Out of this world, something is really great. That's another good idiom or expression. Let's see. We have something ramen profitable. If the question is like, if you say something is profitable, that is an adjective, and you're basically saying, are you able to make a profit doing some service or selling something? Is it profitable? So this is more of a business term that you would use. But again, we can, just to show you this Cambridge, if you want to use it later on, you could type in profitable, and you could see, yes, making or likely to make a profit. And if you don't know what it means to make a profit, it means that you are making more money than it cost you. So if I bake a cake and it costs me $10 and I sell it for $15, that is a $5 profit, which means that that would be profitable. So profitable, I'm just going to throw it down. That's an adjective. Maybe I'll start putting the part of speech down there as well if you think it helps. So it refers to something likely to make, I'm going to say make a profit, just like Cambridge put down there. So it is a good business term. It's something you would hear probably if you're reading a newspaper, something about business, and they're talking about whether or not something might be profitable. Rose Claire asked about crack of doom. I think you may mean crack of dawn. Crack of dawn. So that's the one I'll talk about. If you say crack of dawn, you know that dusk and dawn are two different time periods. So dusk is at the end of the day when the sun goes down. Dawn is just before sun comes up. So the crack of dawn basically means right at that time, right at dawn. So people would use it in a way and say that, like, we woke up at the crack of dawn. It's just an expression. It's a way of saying that you had to wake up very early. You had to get up at the crack of dawn. So instead of saying, well, we woke up really early, you're basically just using that expression and saying, well, we got up at the crack of dawn. Crack of dawn. You usually say to refers to this exact period of time. Often used when saying a person wakes up. So I'm going to add that in there because I think that's typically the context that you would either use this expression or you would hear somebody else use it when they're talking about they had to do something or wake up and it was at the crack of dawn. It was really early in the morning, right when it was dawn. So there's another word. Ooh, excellent. Is this anthasios? I'm just sorry if I know that I'm getting a lot of these words. I may not be able to get all of them. Censorship, all right? Except you'd want to spell it with a C, censorship. So this is another good one where you are limiting information. And typically you don't want some information to become public. You don't want people to know. It could be an opinion. It could be something that's fact. And if you limit the availability, that is a form of censorship. But this is another great word that I think it would be best. Let's see what our friends at Cambridge say. We're talking about censorship and the way they do it. The act of, well, this is another thing about using some of these online dictionaries. If you don't know one word, typically they may use it in the meaning. The act of censoring book or film. So in that case, then we just have to look up the verb to censor something. And this is, I'm just going to read this, a person whose job is to read books, watch films, in order to remove anything offensive from them. So in that case, you want to, again, I said to make information, you don't want to make it known to everybody. And that could be something that's the truth. It could be something, an opinion. And because you think that this is harmful information, you want to censor it and you don't want people to learn about it. This is a common topic, I think, when right now we're on YouTube. And this is something that I think a lot of YouTubers might talk about, that YouTube might engage in censorship, which is the noun. To censor is the verb. And I'm just going to add their meaning right here. And maybe YouTube, for example, I think they have been doing this about the coronavirus, that some people might say some stuff about the coronavirus that's not true. It might be a conspiracy theory, and they are censoring those videos. They're taking them off of YouTube so that people aren't getting bad information. But that would be an example of censorship. Let's see. What else do we have? I think there was another question, cabin fever. That's another good one that I think is relevant, especially right now. I'm going to write it right there. So if somebody has, you would say somebody has cabin fever. A cabin is a small wooden home. And I'll tell you kind of where it comes from. A long time ago, when most people lived in, for example, the countryside, hundreds of years ago, they would live in a small cabin. Now, depending on where you lived, if you lived in the mountains or you lived in a place where you experienced winter and it would get really cold. Well, winter, everybody would have to be inside the cabin. You're not going to go out and play. You're not going to spend much time outside. So you are stuck inside during the winter. It's a small space. And when they say fever, you want to get out of there. And you say you have cabin fever. So it's not really a real fever, like your temperature is rising and your head is getting hot. It's a situation in which you are stuck in a small area and you want to leave. And you say, I'm starting, you could use it with get or have. I'm getting cabin fever, or I have cabin fever. But that's a good phrase. And it's something I say it's relevant to what's happening now. Many countries have these stay-at-home orders, and people they should stay home right now because of the virus. And I think you could say some people, maybe they're getting cabin fever. They just want to go outside because they've been at home all day. Cabin fever, you are stuck inside some small space and cannot leave. Excellent, excellent. Let's see, what else do we have? If you guys are just joining me today, I'm just going through, this is a vocabulary Q&A, and I'm taking your questions. If you have any, are there any words or phrases, idioms, expressions that you want to know, write them in the chat and I will try to get to them. We have another word. Somebody wrote, I'll get to this, Achilles heel. I want to talk about that one. That's good. So I'm going to write it here. Your Achilles heel, it's referring, well, to, it's a part of your body. You know, your heel is down by your foot. Your Achilles is kind of like the back part of your foot. But we use it as an expression today, and you refer to somebody, it's your Achilles heel. And basically, it means that it's your weakness. So again, I'm going to check and see what Canberra says. Yes, a small problem or weakness in a person or system that can result in failure. So I'll just copy that. Come over here to our vocabulary list. I'm getting pretty good at going back and forth, and hopefully it's looking a little smoother. Achilles heel, and then we'll paste it right here. So if you're talking about somebody's weakness, you could say that it is their Achilles heel. For example, a silly little, think of Superman. If you are familiar with Superman, the character, you could say that Superman was, his weakness was kryptonite. When he was around kryptonite, he loses his strength, and you could say that is his Achilles heel. Kryptonite is his Achilles heel. It is his weakness. MD Yunus says, what does it mean? Wave. All right. So this word, I'll write it here, again, is a homonym. It has, so wave, W-A-V-E, just means like this. Hello, you wave at somebody. Or it could be talking about an ocean wave. In this case, wave, the pronunciation is the same. The spelling is different, W-A-I-V-E. And it's a verb, to wave something. It means that if there is a requirement, you are basically getting rid of it. And you're saying, okay, you do not have to do this requirement, and we are going to waive. We're going to waive this. So you could also use it as a noun, and somebody could get a waiver, which means that they don't have to fulfill a certain requirement if they have a waiver. So again, let's go back over to Cambridge to see what they say. So to waive is, yes, to not demand something that you have a right to do, or not cause a rule to be obeyed. So again, I said a requirement. If there's a rule, a requirement that needs to be followed, you say you don't have to follow it, you don't have to obey it, and you can waive this requirement. Waive, good word. To waive, I'm going to write this down as a verb, and we'll post it here. Again, the noun would be a waiver. Somebody would get a waiver, which is typically permission then. And it could be a piece of paper, which is a waiver that would show somebody, okay, I don't have to obey this rule, or I don't have to follow this requirement. So to waive something. Abdurrahman, what does it mean, mislead? I'll write that down, mislead. Again, think of somebody, to lead somebody is you are taking them in a certain direction. To mislead somebody is to basically you're taking them in the wrong direction. And often in this case, you're talking about perhaps a conversation. So you could say that you mislead somebody and they're following you and you go to the wrong place. But often I think it'd be like if I'm giving you bad information, you could say that I am misleading you. I'm getting you to think something that's not true. So I think it's often used in that context when you're talking about sharing information. And I told you before that on YouTube, there was a lot of bad information about the coronavirus. You could say that it was misleading information. So that is when they decided to censor some of these videos and get rid of them, to mislead. So let's go over here and I'll add that to the list. Let's see, I just looked it up on Cambridge 2 for good measure. So to cause someone mislead. Again, verb. To cause someone to believe something that is not true. To mislead someone. And again, I think with social media nowadays, when you have so much information that's easy to get on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, there is a lot of misleading information, and you can easily mislead people to believe stuff that's not true. Let's see. We wanted to say there's another. Abdul, that's a good word. Lackadaisical. So, lackadaisical, right here. I'll throw this down here. If you it's an adjective, and often I think it might be used with they're talking about their behavior, their attitude, that they have a lackadaisical attitude. And if you describe somebody's attitude or the way they're behaving as lackadaisical, it just means they don't care. They're not showing much care in this thing. And you could say that, yes, it is lackadaisical. Again, let's go over here just to give you guys more examples. I'd always encourage you to look these words up. Keep your own vocabulary list. I think that's always a great way to build your vocabulary. If you just have a list that you can go to review words and try to remember them. Showing little enthusiasm or effort. So I'll add that one to the list. Lackadaisical. It is an adjective showing little enthusiasm or effort to do something. Just get as many words as we can. Excellent. So I think you could say a collocation would be like attitude, a lackadaisical attitude. We'll get to some of these others. Sorry, Lali asked, what does it mean? Go Dutch. So this is an expression. You would say to go Dutch means that if you go out with somebody, maybe it could be a date, it could just be a dinner with a friend, but if you go Dutch, it means that each person is going to pay for themselves. If you're doing at a restaurant and you go Dutch, you're going to pay for your meal. Maybe you go to a movie and you say, we'll go Dutch. You're going to pay, each person will pay for themselves. So I think often you would use it in the context of perhaps dating, and you want to ask somebody out, and maybe this person's a little like, wait, I don't know if I don't know if I'd want to call it a date. And you say, don't worry, we'll go Dutch. We'll just go as friends. We'll go Dutch, and each person will pay for themselves. Excellent. That's a good phrase. I'll add it to the list. And again, you'd use it like a verb, to go Dutch. Wait, what is it? Oh, gosh. Spell Dutch. Yes, it's a proper noun. I'd say refers to a situation in which each person will pay for themselves. All right, to go Dutch. Excellent. Let's see. We also have, there was another one up here that I wanted to ask. Somebody had asked about, Stephen Jackson asked about morbid. That's a good word. It's another, I'll write it down so you can, whoops, sorry, I misspelled it. Not more big, sorry, that's wrong. Morbid with a D, there you go. And it is an adjective. It's used to describe maybe the way someone might be acting or some setting. So again, we can go back to Cambridge, and if you say something is morbid, it's like a little, I think of like death and scary, that it's, okay, there we go. It says that someone is maybe interested in unpleasant subjects, especially death. So they talk about like a morbid fascination with death would be an example. Or maybe you're describing as a person as a little morbid, and which you're then talking about their character. Morbid. Good word. So let's go over here to our vocabulary list. And again, I said this was an adjective. And we'll throw down the meaning right there. Perfect. Excellent. What else do we have? So we said, I like this one. Alyssa asked about a shameless plug. So let me copy and paste. So this is, if you're talking about a plug, which is a noun, and it could have different meanings. You could talk about like to plug a drain, which means you're sticking something in there to keep the water from flowing. Or the thing that you would use is a plug. Now, this is a different meaning for plug if I am going to plug a movie. I am going to basically kind of give a little bit of an advertisement, a little bit of a promotion for this thing, and you are going to give it a plug. Shameless in this situation would be like if I am plugging myself. And I do. I think everybody kind of does this. And I could say, like, if I were to say, oh, why don't you guys, hit that like button, the Interactive English, it's the best channel for learning English. Or if I'm promoting something that I'm doing, if it's a course or some kind of lesson, I could say, oh, it's a shameless plug. That I know that, not that I shouldn't be doing it, but it's kind of a way to refer to when people are giving some type of promotion when maybe they shouldn't. And I think oftentimes it's when people use it in the context when somebody is doing that for themselves and they're giving themselves a shameless plug. And I will probably in the future, because I'm coming out with these courses. It's in the works. It will be out this year. And I will be giving myself some shameless plugs. So keep that in mind. I just want to make sure, let's go over here. I'm just curious actually, to see what Cambridge has written down, if they have this whole phrase, a shameless plug. No, they don't have it because it's kind of, I guess you could say it's more of an expression. I don't think it is an idiom really. So I'm going to write it over here. I'll just use my words. So shameless plug. Again, plug in this case is talking about a noun to promote something that usually, I'm going to say this, usually serves someone's own self-interest. All right, that you're trying to say something that's just going to really help yourself, and you could say that it is a shameless plug. All right, I'll do a couple of more. Karen, if you want to look on the list, cabin fever, I've talked about that one. It's on our list. And again, I will post all of these words in the description down below. This is a great one. Let's talk about elephant in the room. Somebody was asking about that. So this is an idiom if you want to talk about the elephant in the room. And it's used in that context when you're having a conversation or discussion with somebody else, and there is a topic that you should talk about, but you don't want to talk about it. It's an uncomfortable topic that two people or a group of people may need to discuss. So for example, it would be used in a situation that if there is a group of people and there's a problem, I have a problem with some other person, and it's good to just talk about the problem so that we can get past it. And somebody might say, look, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about this uncomfortable situation so that we can make amends and we can get through it and forget about it. So if somebody's referring to the elephant in the room, it's talking about some uncomfortable topic that typically needs to be discussed. And I think people would often use it just like that and kind of say, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or we need to talk about the elephant in the room. So I'd say some uncomfortable topic that needs to be addressed or discussed. And you'd say, yes, it's the elephant in the room. All right. So I think, again, I'm sorry if I could not get to all of your words. I wanted to get through as many as I could. I hope that it was easy to follow. I hope these examples made sense. And I will post these words down in the description if you want to review them. And we'll do more lessons like this in the future where we can talk directly. And I want to do different Q&As that revolve around pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar. So we're doing a little bit at a time. I'm trying to make them a little more focused. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Here, I'll give you an example of a shameless plug. All right, if you guys like what we do and just want to support our lessons, you can check us out. We have YouTube memberships, Patreon. We offer some cool rewards. It's another great way to connect with us. Links to those are down in the description. There, that is a perfect example of a shameless plug. All right, so thank you guys for joining me. Let's see, Stephen, Hadi, Lali, Katbek, Sleepwalker, Anasos, Abdu, Mohammed, thank you guys, Aiden. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you next time. So long.